Hey all, Pixel here, Improbable Garage, and I'm filming this later because I realized I forgot to film an intro to this video. This is the revamp of the shop now that everything's been moved out into the container. Basically reworking that corner where all the woodworking stuff was and reworking the now empty wall on the other side of the Oldsmobile. So yeah, that's it. Cue me in the past. One of the things I want to do revamping this area is I want a section of shelving that I'm kind of calling the Land of Misfit projects, i.e. I've collected these small amount of things for a project. That project isn't currently happening. Where the heck do I put it? Because it's part of the accretion problem. Like, all of these are for a planned modification here that hasn't happened yet. There's a bunch of metal here for a planned piece of art that hasn't happened. And this stuff's been hanging around forever, and it just fills up this space because it doesn't have a place to live, because it doesn't need to go, it doesn't need to have a permanent home, but it needs to have a temporary home. So I need a place to put that stuff. And so, the Land of Misfit projects. This is a shelf unit that was kind of crammed in the corner. I was building this for something else. It didn't come out super great, so it kind of ended up in the garage. Not really being even properly used out here. What I've decided I'm going to do is take this shelf, mount it to the wall up here, and that's going to be where the Land of Misfit projects goes, and I'll get some bins of some sort to go on it. That all that, you know, put stuff in, I can put a label on the bin, and then whenever I get to that project later, I can do it, and I can put 2 or 3 projects in the same bin. I just put more labels on it, and it'll just be a way to just deal with that stuff for, like, I'm doing this project later, I will put all the pieces of it there. Because, like, pieces of the cube have places to live. Pieces of the van have places to live. Pieces of the Oldsmobile have places to live. But little stuff like that doesn't. And I need a place for that for organization shape. So this is going to be it. I did some measuring. It's width-wise, it's going to fall about here. So I just have to move this fan over. Measuring down, if I put it hard up against there, it comes to about here. But also the compressor is going to be in here, and the compressor only comes up to about here. So what I'm probably going to do is move it down. I'm probably going to take this piece of tin out, move it down as far as it can go, and still comfortably have room for the compressor under it. Because that'll give me basically a top shelf for it up at the top, which is convenient because there's a plug hooked to the light circuit up there that runs down here to be the power to the fan. Nice and simple way to just use up a thing I already have, make a space for stuff I need. Minimum effort. Alright, Oldsmobile is out. Moved for the first time in like a year and a half, embarrassingly. But the whole point of that is to be able to get at all of this, move it all around. Compressors going that way, other stuff going in the unit, figuring out what I'm doing with that pile of wood, modifying that so it's freestanding. Stuff needs to happen. I thought it was going to be like, okay, I move the Oldsmobile, I'll just move all the stuff over, and then I'm now looking at what's over here, and I'm like, trailer stuff should probably stay in here. This is extra tools, that's fine. This is spare mat, that's fine. Upstairs bathroom baseboard covers, that's trash, because we changed those. I hate this thing. These were because that over there was supposed to be 2 bins taller originally, and then I realized I wanted storage on top instead of bins that I couldn't reach. So those may get integrated into the new bench, but for right now they should go out there. That's more scrap wood. Bungee cords and rope. This should be condensed into a smaller bin. And then, I don't know where it should live. Heater I almost never use. More random tools. Some sorting. I've got those wheels. I've got the torque thrusts I should sell. And I've got the 2 bent steering wheels. These may be salvageable, but I don't want to spend the money right now. I've got all these extra wheels hanging around. I've been thinking about, now that I was looking at them, I might make some sort of rack up high up there to hold them all, just so I can have them kind of on display. Because old wheels are cool looking. But that means I shouldn't move them out there, unless I should move them out there and then move them back in. Yeah, that's what I should do. I should move them out there, move them back in, because then I don't have to build the rack right away, and Dear God, you're seeing these videos in some sort of semblance of order, but I'm working on every single part of the fixing the thing, building the inside of it, tearing this apart, planning what's going on. It's like just, it's all happening simultaneously, and you're getting it somewhat more coherent. The Oldsmobile back in before I remembered I was going to show you. Taking the shelves down over here, started getting the stuff out of here, and you can already see how much more space this is going to open up. I'm leaning towards the tires may end up in the shed instead of out here, but I haven't decided that for sure. But yeah, this is going to end up, if I get all this stuff out of here, the ton more space. Because this is over a little bit more than it used to be, but I'll be able to move it so much further over, and that'll just free up. You know, imagine that space over here. It's gonna have, I'll have so much more room in here. I'm so looking forward to this. More progress. Shelves are out there over on the other side. All the wood that I really cared about, except for those chunks, it's on the other side. There's a couple odds and ends that are going to get moved over there, but I sorted through and took all the stuff that I thought was worth anything. These are big and bulky, so I haven't moved them yet. Cleared this out. Those have been moved like you saw over there. My partner had a brilliant thought, because I've got a plug over here that is specifically hooked to a switch that's labeled compressor switch, and it's on the light circuit, so that if I shut the lights off, the compressor doesn't run all night. And I was like, man, I'm going to have to run a whole new wire, run a new plug over here. Then she pointed out, this thing that runs the fan that was in this corner is the exact same setup. In fact, it's not hardwired, it's just plugged into there. So temporarily I can just use this for the compressor. Slightly longer term, I can build basically the same thing. So the fan will have one, the compressor will have one, and it'll do the same job, and I'll just label it so I know which one it is. Easy enough, saves me a bunch of hassle. I do have to rip some wiring out, but that's a future me problem. I know I talked about reinforcing this and making it a freestanding tire rack, but then I remembered this thing has collapsed once already. All the tires have fallen on the car, and there's a dent in the door and the hood and the roof as a result of that. Why tempt fate? So they're going to go in the storage unit. They'll be fine. I'm not going to build a rack up high in there because they don't need to be up high. And if I put them up high, they can fall. If I stack them in a big column, they'll be fine. But once I get the tires out, I can finish disassembling this. I'm going to not be a lazy bastard this time, and I'm going to paint this whole wall. It's going to get as much effort as the other walls did, i.e. one coat of white primer, but it'll look better. Finish this wall out a little bit, and then, you know, I don't know, another 5 years from now, I might finish that wall. But let's not get crazy. I'm blasting through it sucks. I'm on my second day of it, but relatively speaking, it's going pretty quick given everything I'm doing, since I have to build the storage before I can move the shit, and then disassemble the storage. So yeah, I will pick it up when this is all gone. Ta-da! Ignore that. Yeah, so this is all stripped out. We're back out to the wall. Nothing attached at this point. I forgot I'd replace the support for this with the vertical post, so I had to come in and hack it off rather awkwardly. So the plug for the compressor, I realized I had planned to take it out, but then I'm like, wait, I have to put a outside plug so I can power the container long term without an extension cord just running out the door. So that's going to be the source of the power for it. Obviously, I'm going to put an exterior plug box and everything. But so for right now, it's just hung up over there. There was another plug, it's over there somewhere, that was just dangling over here that I genuinely thought was just, oh, I've disconnected that, but I didn't bother to pull all the staples holding the conduit in place. So I started ripping them out, absolutely destroying the conduit in the process, till I realized it was still attached to the overhead plug for the that thing. Fortunately, I had the power off at the time because I planned to unhook the other one, so I had to go into that box, disconnect it, rip the rest of it out. But now it's finally taken care of. So yeah, this wall completely done and dealt with. Like I said, I'm going to paint in here before I'm done. Apparently I was doodling on the wall trying to figure stuff out back when I built this. Yeah, this wall is going to get like literally broom swept, pull the plates off, paint it with a white primer, and that'll be it. I'll be done with it for at least now. Later at some point, I'm sure I'll do something more with it. So you ever try to paint a wall with mayo? Because the one can I had that had any in it, that's about the thickness, consistency it was, and that's how far half a can got me as a result. So it's late enough at night, I'm not going to go buy more paint right now. The other 2 cans that I thought had something in it didn't, so that's as far as I'm getting tonight. I've been cleaning up the floor in here so I can get the car back in. So I got to finish that up, and then tomorrow I will buy a fresh can of primer, and I'll finish this wall. All right, another can of paint. Gonna get at it. Ta-da! Yeah, it's kind of half-assed, but that's how the rest of the room is, so it'll match perfectly once it dries. It's a garage. They're plywood walls. They're white. That's all I really want from it. It would take a lot of work to make this look nice. So this is nice enough, and this is a major improvement. The room's going to look so much brighter with both, not all the stuff here obviously, but just the wall being white. As soon as it dries, I'll put the plates back on, and then that will be done. The hose has been run and then painted for the compressor. I had to link up the 2 hoses I had. They were basically, I had run a hose out to the compressor and then cut it so there wasn't a huge spool of extra, and then that extra I put an end on so I could have an extra hose, and then I ended up using that later to connect the second compressor in as a spare tank. So what I need to do now is, there's now a bunch of extra hose here, so I need to get a couple more ends and connect those together, you know, cut this and reconnect to make a shorter one that will be the connecting one. So I'm going to go dig through my things. It just occurred to me that the line, if I cut the hose to do this, did I do? Oh man, I didn't do it. I was looking, if those had both been like repair connectors there, then what I could have done is taken them both out, just put a straight through repair connector in there, and then used that bit to make the other end. And I might still do that. I'm thinking about it. I think I might cut, like I'll leave it connected to the compressor. I'll run it up here, cut it, put a straight through connector, take out that other connection there, and use those pieces to make the link hose over there. And the nice thing about that is that you get better throughput if it's just straight through connection. Like, the air has to do some weird stuff to get through that connection, and so it slows it down so you get less volume through. So I'll actually improve the amount of air I get out of the reel if I do this. So that makes sense. Makes me wish I hadn't painted it, because then I wouldn't have, I'm going to get messy doing this, but whatever. That's still an improvement, and it's smart to think this shit through and see if I can make a better choice when I can make a better choice. So we're going to do that. That'll also get me the other tank in play without having to go out and make another purchase, which, man, I've been spending so much money. Oh, the great irony, all the stuff that, so I bought a bunch of overstock, like lower quality wood to do the shelving in there, and then I bought a second round of it because I didn't think I was going to have enough wood. And then I ripped all of this down, and now I have a massively excessive amount of wood, beyond what I could possibly need. But I wouldn't have had that if I hadn't had some place to put the stuff, because there wasn't any place to put this. Sliding block puzzles are really frustrating, but it's okay. I will use it at some point, somewhere. It's 2x4s. They're universally useful at some point. So, yeah, now some cleanup needs to start happening just to free up some space here, and then building needs to start happening over here. So a little bit of mission creep has happened. So the windows in this garage, as you can see on this one, are installed upside down. Why the previous owners did that, I cannot even begin to fathom. it would have been obvious the moment they installed them, because when you undo the latches, the what should be the bottom sash, but is the top one, comes crashing down because it has no springs to support it. And I've just kind of lived with it because it's been one of those, like, I'll get around to it, I'll get around. And then I was about to put a sill on this side because, hey, why leave the ugly edge when I can just cut a piece of wood and have it look nice? So I decided, oh, wait a minute, I'll fix that stupid window. So I pulled the window out, only to discover they also didn't caulk the edges in any way whatsoever. So water's been getting in here for a while. I've removed the spacer 2x4 that was here, and the 2 layers of wall were both really rotten. So I've cut all of that out. I'm going to vacuum this out. I'm not going to go any deeper into this wall at this point because, well, I don't want to. That's a whole separate, so now I know eventually I have to rip the siding off the back and fix that. But if I fix this and seal it up, it's not going to get any worse. At least not in the short term. So what I'm going to do now is cut a piece of 2x6 or 8 or something pressure treated and put it in here to fill both where that spacer was and the 2 layers of wall, so that this is all reinforced again. And then install the window again, properly seal and caulk it from the outside so that this doesn't continue. And then I'll have a working window and I won't have my wall rotting. So this now lets me know I need to do the other one in the real near future. But we're going to finish this half of the garage first, and then we're going to dig into that because I'm sure that one's just as bad. Window's fixed. Like I said, I'm going to have to do eventually more work on the outside wall, but this will seal it up so that it won't get any worse. So this is a piece of 2x6 to replace the 2x4 that was here. It wasn't even 2x4, it was like 2x, I don't know, something narrow. So this is actually pushed out and taking up the place of the outer sheathing that I had to cut away. So now all the way out to here is 2x6. So that'll help with stability there. The outside is going to need to get nailed to that so that that flashing is solidly in place. I put a small piece of scrap on top of it up against where the window is just to tip that sill so to help the water run off. And the same time I go out there and screw that on there, I'll caulk the whole thing with, you know, proper caulking. So I was looking at this closer again. So this window was upside down in this opening and wasn't caulked in place. But now I'm looking at it again. There's caulking on here. So what that implies is they first installed this window backwards. I don't know whether it was right side up or upside down, but they had the wrong side out. And then they caulked it in place. And then they somehow apparently realized that was wrong. And they pulled it out. And they installed it the right way around, but upside down. And then didn't re-caulk it. So I'm continuously astounded by the quality of work that was performed by the people who own this house before us. And I'm constantly fixing the problems caused by it. But that's taken care of. Like I said, I'll do the other one after I've dealt with this side's. Like once I've got this side done and reassembled and back together again, I'll worry about that other window because I have to move a whole bunch of crap to get at it. Half of which is the crap that's supposed to be over on this side. So, now that the window's dealt with, so that wall is done for right now. The compressors are for right now done. The only thing I have to do is put in another switch so that I can have the compressors and the fans both here. That's going to be, once I go get the bits for it, that's going to be a quick little assembly job. So no big deal there. The shelf of misfit projects is in place and I've thrown a couple things on it. I'm going to get some bins, but I have to find some that fit. These are in place. They're interconnected. So the compressors are working. I drained both of them. Weirdly, the one that produces all the air had barely any moisture in it. The one that is just a tank had a ton of moisture in it. Maybe one of you... Normally they're hooked up so that the first one pumps air to the second one, and the second one outputs air to the system. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. One of you who knows this better might have an answer to that. So, the one last big thing, benches. Something needs to go here so I can put all this junk somewhere. So what I'm going to do is show you my free bench kit. I'm not building this out of wood, even though I have all that extra wood. And that would probably be the fastest method, is just reuse the wood I took off the wall. But I don't want wood benches there. So I got a free bench kit. See? This is my free bench kit. It may look like a disassembled child's bunk bed set, but I assure you, it's actually a set of benches. Realistically, I picked this up off the side of the road for free. It's a bunch of steel. It's not super heavy duty for obviously, but I don't need super heavy duty benches everywhere. I have, like, the welding bench is stupidly overbuilt. So if I'm ever really like hammering on something, I'm going to use that anyway because it has a metal top. This will allow me to build something sturdy enough for nothing but time and welding supplies. So most of this is just going to be generic bench with lower shelf because I haven't made every single plan for what needs to be here. So I'm just going to have something generally useful. There's a couple specific things that I need to make space for though. One is this set of drawers. I have 5 of these. They are basically the same depth as all my other benching. So I'm going to make sure there's a spot where they can sit all 5 in a row because that'll add a bunch of storage space. I need a place potentially for the ramps. I know I need a place for this to sit. So there's going to be one section of it probably right by the compressors that's going to have a taller roll-in area that this can just roll right in that corner, be out of the way. This here, my little rollout cart, needs a place to live there. What I'm probably going to do for that is actually, if I can, build a eye-shaped opening that exactly fits it so it can slide away, but nothing can sit in front of it, so it can be rolled in and out really easily. Not 100% sure on that. And then I need room for a couple of bins that are going to be my dump bins, doom bins, however you want to describe it. It's going to be where all this crap that sits here that doesn't have a place to go and isn't a project bits, it's just stuff that accretes for no reason. All that can go in a bin to be dealt with later or never dealt with as my ADD dictates. But I need to be able to keep my benches clearer, and the biggest thing that's the problem is this is just assorted stuff. Like, yeah, a bunch of these are the off-season things. Those can live in the thing, but like there's just random crap. Some of it's garbage, some of it's not, some of it's bits that don't have somewhere to live. But I need a place I can just throw it because I'll find a place for it and I'll have a place to live. Not everything can have that, and if it doesn't have that, it sits on the bench in the way. So I'm going to find some place for it to live that's just throw it in that bin. And then every once in a while, I'll pull that bin out, I'll go through it, figure out what I'm doing with the stuff, and either throw half of it back in there or throw half of it out or whatever. And so I'm going to live with the fact that I'm kind of messy in certain ways by making a place to dump my mess. So this cart, I think, has an adjustment. Yeah. Does it go down any further? Yes. Perfect. Because that should get it low enough, that was like another inch or two, for it to slide under the horizontal supports. So I think what I need to start by doing is building a very basic bench. 4 legs, top crossbar, 1 rear crossbar, keep the legs together, and then I can fill in that. And another one over here, same idea, a little bit of space above. Now that I'm thinking about it, do I want to make these one long vertical, or do I want to make these horizontal across the top? Because I couldn't put these right under the bench top, just along. I think I'm going to bring a bunch of steel in here and just start putting something together. I got all my metal stripped down and disassembled. Something I learned, these verticals used to be part of those verticals, and somebody sawed them off. So I may be able to weld them back on and end up with longer pieces that'll give me all the leg height that I need. Because I was a little bummed that these were a bit short, but I think with those it might bring them back up to the full 6 foot that I need for my vertical. I have 4 nice long ones that'll work for horizontals and 2 shorter ones, as well as these are basically the same as those shorter ones, just with some extra bits that are attached to them. So I have a ton of this round stuff because this is what was supporting the mattresses. If I need it for cross bracing is about the only thing I'm really going to use it for, because it sucks for using for anything else because you can't lay a piece of plywood or anything on it. And then I've got lots of little short pieces. Depending how I use stuff, this may or may not happen, but I was looking at these pieces, this piece that I have 2 of, and these, and those may end up being shelving up here to hold small stuff or decorative stuff or something, just to use it up, because it's perfectly functional for that kind of thing. Looking at this, the long horizontals put me somewhere over here, which is actually just a little too long for what I need, because I need a place for that, and if it's there, then I have to do something weird under it because it ends up kind of blocking. I can't just have a separate section where that tucks under. And there we go. First basic bench is basically built. For legs, I'm putting the ones I had to put back together in the back, just, so it looks a little bit nicer. These are the short crossbars, top end cut off of the bracket, and then welded in. And then, because I was careful about where I put the bolt holes, I could bolt the front one in, but I had to weld the back one in to match because this is the only one that has holes and it's at a different height because of how they were cut out of the thing. Because the spacing wasn't the same. 2 pieces of this, cut off some of the other stuff. Now at this point this could be done because when I put the deck in the lower level it can hold the legs together. I will probably put a crossbar in, but I'm just going to wait for the moment not to cut any more of this up until I've built the second one. Now for the second one, I'm going to have to shorten it up obviously. But I measured it out my maximum distance so that it overlaps the tire of the compressor but doesn't sit on the leg of the compressor, is 34 inches. I think I'm going to cram it in that tight because most compressors run tall and skinny, not short and fat, so anything else should still fit in there with that spacing. I could, if I really wanted to, just add on to this, but I kind of like having them as separate units. So if this whole thing has to change at some point, I'm not cutting up a whole bench. I've got a separate unit here. Like everything I build, the front legs have a bolt adjuster, so I can get them level because the floor in here slopes. As you get closer to the wall, it slopes up a bit. I think they did it for drainage. But yeah, I just did that. Where is it? Here we go. The thing is 2 inches wide, so I marked every inch, welded a bolt on every other, and I'm going to cut it on every other. These are going to... What I did was weld one side in with it just laying on there, and then cut it right at the other material, pushed it down so it was in there, welded the other side. It's going to work just fine. This is beefier than the whole thing, so something else will fail long before that does. All right, my fab work is done for today. This is all put together. Because it doesn't have to support a shelf, I ended up using some of that round stock, cut it to size, hammered it flat, drilled some holes. Done. On this one, a little bit of modification in that corner so I could get those shelves in. They are jammed in there because the space in the back, actually the space in the back and the front, were both a little bit too small. But the front I could re-drill the holes, the back I'd welded in. Something I didn't think through, but easy enough to fix with a little bit of hammer and a little bit of riv nuts. I made these connectors out of just some scrap stuff that I had, because again, all it has to do is hold the front and the back in a specific place, and they're going to be nice for getting the piece of wood to slide in there nice and neat. That one was originally obviously in the corner, and then when I put this in, I moved it out over there because there was no reason to put wood underneath there and make my problem worse. So next step. So the next step, and I don't know if I'm doing it tonight or not, depends on if my partner's available to help, is going to be to just cut the bowling alley, put it on this. The bottom shelf is going to get a single layer. The top is going to get a double layer just to really make sure it's got the heft I need. And that'll be a full inch thick, so it'll be totally fine. So there we go, brand new bench frames. This one, like we talked about, is going to take that. I'm probably going to add some sort of rack to hold all the accessories for the shop vac, like all the other ends, because those disappear all the time. What I may just do, I'm looking at the round stock right now, and maybe I can just quickly knock together something out of that. Not right now, but in the near future. I mean, I may even be able to just like grind the paint off of that one and weld a couple sticking up, and that'll probably be just fine. Because all it needs to do is, you know, keep the stuff from falling on the floor. Easy enough. So, yeah. I need to finish cleaning up now all of this stuff. And as soon as I get the tops on this, some of this stuff can come over here and get put away. I'm really happy. This is going to be so nice. Because I will have a whole bunch more bench space. I'll have an uninterrupted bench there. The saw was always a weird psychological thing of like the part beyond the saw just never got used except to dump things on. Now it'll be one whole bench, easier to use. Cool, cool, cool. Very happy. And yeah, all of this stuff's here temporarily. This is not how this is going to be long term. I just haven't finished with everything, so I'm just leaning stuff there to have it out of the way. But even with that there, I still can get the car further over than I could before. Alrighty. We just cut all the bench tops. I haven't screwed any of them down because I realized I'm not quite sure how I want to do that. But they are all cut, and as you can see, it's a double thickness, so these are going to be stupidly sturdy. And dang if that doesn't look good, huh? That's the other thing, is I think I'm going to paint these the green that I paint everything else before I screw the tops on too. But those look really good. Especially given they were made from a set of bunk beds on the side of the road. I would say they look amazing. As you can see, I pulled the Oldsmobile back in, and it is now right in line with the edge of the door where it couldn't be before because all the stuff that I'd built out was in line with the door. So this car would have been, you know, the bumpers at front and back would have been an inch from everything. And if you come over on this side, you can see how much more space I have. That stuff was like 6 inches away from it, maybe. And now you can see how much more room I've gained. And the Oldsmobile can even go over further, especially once all this stuff's out of here. If I put it on some roller dollies, I can push it over another foot or two. I will have so much room for activities. I'm so happy about this. This is such an improvement. Now, when I built this shop out in 2020, I knew what I needed. You know, it did what I needed it to do at the time, which it gave me room for my mechanical stuff, my metal stuff, and my woodworking stuff. But taking the woodworking stuff that only gets used occasionally and moving it into a deeper storage but still very functional area has freed up so much space. And being able to get my storage out of here and into another space has freed up another whole bunch of space. And this is just going to be such an even nicer place to work. Because now, like, especially like, you know, if I push the Oldsmobile over, I'll be able to pull the van in at an angle in here and have room all the way around it. Whereas before, when the van came in here, it was cramped against this, and it was cramped against that. And yeah, I worked on it. I did body work on it in here, but it sucked. This will be so nice. Like, it'll still, you know, still be tight because I still only have an 8-foot door here. But once I get stuff in here, it'll be so much nicer to work. I had pondered moving all this stuff against that wall to free space up in that direction, but then it becomes blocked by the Oldsmobile the way it was before the other stuff was. So I'm really happy with this. Like, I got my benches back here in a way that's going to feel much more contiguous. I've got storage that I didn't have here before because the space under there, the little bit of space under there had working stuff. This was occupied by stuff. In a perfect world, these would not be here, but I'm very happy with them because it freed up this wall. I have this up here, which is going to be, like I said, storage for odd little project stuff that doesn't have a better place to live. And I still have all of this to figure out what I'm going to do with. Am I going to make it useful? Am I going to put more decorative stuff up there? I don't know. I did get my grill back up, the GMC grill back up, and the bubble lights for the van are going to go back in their spot. This is so nice. Even though it's still an absolute disaster, even though I have so much sorting and cleaning to do, this is just such a nice space. I feel like this is such a huge improvement. And I'm so happy I went through all the effort. That container, money well spent, even with all the work I had to do with it. The last like week and a half of working my butt off in there, you know, fixing the container as far as I could at this time, building out the inside of the container, clearing everything out in here, changing everything around, building out all this. Oh, every bit of it now is worth it because this is so nice. I am so just over the moon. I'm excited about the possibilities in here. Like, it's going to make it so much easier to work. Like, weather's been my bane for the last while. The stuff has accumulated and narrowed down this space in a way that's made it harder to use, like for cars, which means I've been doing all my car stuff outside, which means it's been incredibly weather dependent. And that's made it just really stressful and frustrating. But all of this is so nice. All right, and a little bit of follow-up a little bit later. That is now painted. Top is finally fully on and everything. Same with that piece over there. I built a couple of shelves out of the leftovers from the bed frame. This is the last one. So you can kind of see how this style, where there was just little bits sticking off the ends this way, I just cut those off and just drilled a couple holes through to put screws in. And then these were made from the all that tubing that I had. Put a riv nut in here, flattened one end, flattened another end, 90 degrees off. So that makes up the little braces. The ones further down are a little bit different, and they had bits of metal sticking off the other way. They came off this way, and for those I welded a little plate on to screw them to the wall. The reason for that is I wanted some that were deeper that I could put a wheel on. This size is just a little bit too narrow. The wheel would probably be sitting on this edge. With that one, a lip of the wheel and a lip of the wheel should comfortably fit like that. That final one's not on yet because I put some stuff on the wall to get out of the way before I built them. Now that's going to have to come back off. And like the GMC one's probably going to end up under that shelf. That's just going to get moved over or down or something because the next shelf falls right in the middle of that hanger. But, and once I get that dealt with, I can finish putting away. I literally just finished reassembling everything after paint. I also built a racking down there that holds all of my accessories for the shop vac. So this fits in. The accessories for shop vac go there. The shop vac kind of parks in the lee of it. It sticks out very slightly, but that's totally fine. This is just out of the way, so I get that out of the way. Down here, I needed some doom bins, like I said. I picked these up at the flea market. They're a couple of beverage bins. I just really liked the logoing on them. So those are now my doom bins of just, I don't have a better place to put it. I don't want it on the countertop. Goes there. This is cube parts that's been hanging around. And then over here, the land of misfit projects. You can see I've started labeling various stuff. I have 2 more bins I haven't filled up yet. More projects piled on top. Like, it's all coming together really good. I wanted to do a final, like, hey, look, it's all done. But let's be realistic, I'm not going to get to that anytime in the near future. So this is going to have to be good enough, and then you'll see the done version in the background on future videos. So that's it for now. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.